Aloha everyone! I'm back from Oahu, Hawaii, and I want to talk to you about my 8-day itinerary that's also kid-friendly. I'm going to show you where I got this beautiful lei, this headband, some places that you have to go if you go to Oahu, and some places that I would avoid for the next time. So let's talk about the 8-day trip. I'm going to try to go through them as succinctly as possible and let you know at the end things to avoid. So stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to start to you about the trip there. I took United Airlines. I had a direct flight from Houston, Texas to Honolulu Airport. It was an 8-hour flight direct, and I would recommend direct flights, especially if you're traveling with children. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it gives you more time in Hawaii because we left here at 10 o'clock in the morning and we got there at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon there. So essentially you had almost the whole rest of the day, although you would have to factor in jet lag to kind of get you situated in Hawaii. So direct flights are key, but they often stop in somewhere else if you are looking for a layover, probably in California if you're traveling from Texas. I'm also going to talk to you about some of the pricing that I spent, like what was the budget for 8-day itinerary, including flights. So I went in the first week of June, and that was not total peak season of travel to Hawaii. So, you know, the prices were a little bit expensive, but they could have been more. Per ticket was about $1,090 per ticket, which is kind of pricey, you know, because that's just the transportation to get you to your destination, but that's what it costs per person. So if you're traveling United Airlines, that's kind of what it's going to be, maybe a little bit more if you're traveling during the peak season, which is during the summertime. During the wintertime, they have really good surf seasons for if you're an expert surfer. They perhaps may have lower flight prices, but for the first week in Hawaii, for the first week in June, it was $1,090 round trip. So when we got there, we landed at Honolulu Airport, and then I ordered a taxi, which was actually cheaper than doing an Uber, from Honolulu Airport to Marriott, Waikiki Beach. And it was about a 20-minute ride from there. It was a flat rate fee for the taxi, so it's $33 if you book with Charlie's Taxi. I'll put all the information in the description box, but it's $33 flat rate. I watched the meter go, so if I didn't do the flat rate booking through Charlie's Taxi, it would have been about $56 if you just booked a regular cab otherwise. So I would suggest you book ahead, and like I said, it was cheaper than doing the Uber just because it was a flat rate. So we went from Honolulu to Waikiki Beach, which is not too far from the area, which is more of a touristy area, and I'll kind of show you. It was very close to Diamondhead volcano structure and right on the beach. I would say, though, I'm going to give you a word of advice about the specific Marriott, but there's a whole strip of hotels that are right there on Waikiki Beach. So we actually split our time between Waikiki Beach, which is at the southern part of Oahu, and we also went and stayed at a hotel at the northern part of Oahu just to get a difference of, you know, the environments. Waikiki Beach, like I said, is very touristy. There's a lot of high-rise hotels, very busy. The north side was a lot more calm. What you probably think of when you think of Hawaii, like the greenery, the beautiful ocean scene, kind of just everybody's chilling, driving in the convertible, things of that nature. But I wanted to get a feel of both of those. So if that's what you want to do, you can always just rent a car and drive up there yourself, like for a day. But I didn't rent a car actually until I was ready to go to the North Shore. So I saved some money on the car rental fee because in Waikiki Beach, there was a $50 a night parking fee for the hotel in addition to you actually renting the car. And I knew I'd be staying really close to the Waikiki Beach area, so it didn't feel important to rent a car for that area. But when we went to North Beach area, North Shore area, the car is very important because things, you know, are farther away from each other. So I basically only had a car for 3 out of my 8-day itinerary. And the car was through Enterprise. It was convenient actually to rent the car through Enterprise. Waikiki Marriott actually has the Enterprise right on site, so I just went downstairs and picked up the keys for the rental, and then we were on our way for the last day of the stay in Waikiki Beach. Okay, so the first day was actually kind of a wash. We were pretty tired from the travel, even though we got there early. It was 1 o'clock Hawaii time, but it was actually 6 p.m. Houston time, so we were kind of tired. We kind of checked in, got some food, and kind of chilled at the hotel for the first day. And then we knew we were going to bed early, and I knew I'd have jet lag, so I purposely planned a hike up Diamondhead the next day, early in the morning, because before it got too hot, and because I knew we'd be up early and needing something to do. So for 8-day itinerary, keep in mind jet lag and having to adjust to things, and still planning activities because you may wake up. We woke up at 5 a.m. the next day because we had gone to sleep early, but we were at Diamondhead hiking 6:30 in the morning, and there was a lot of people there because a lot of people who, let's say you travel from East Coast, Honolulu is 6 hours behind you. They were also experiencing jet lag such as we were. The hike up Diamondhead was wonderful. It's a moderate level of skill. But when you get to the top, you are highly rewarded by the view. It's a 360 view of the Pacific Ocean, the beach shores, the Honolulu skyline. It's just a beautiful sight to see. So I would say it was rewarding once you get to the top. It took us about an hour round hike to get up there and then get back down. Obviously getting back down was easier, but like I said, this is also a kid-friendly activity because I have a 6-year-old that did it with ease. I was a little more out of breath than he was. So it's also kid-friendly, and it was actually impactful to him. I didn't think, I didn't know what he would think about it, but he actually enjoyed the challenge of hiking up and actually seeing that at the top. So if you're traveling with children, or if you're not, it's still actually a good activity to do on your first day in Oahu. Okay, just to let you know, although it was an 8-day itinerary, I did not plan 8 different activities because I didn't want to over-plan. I planned about 5 specific activities and then kind of said beach if we have time, which turned out to be a good idea. So the second day there was the Diamondhead hike, and we kind of just chilled at the hotel pool after that. On Monday, we went to the Honolulu Zoo, which was actually pretty close to the hotel, about a 4-minute walk from the hotel. So we did that as our second day, and then we went on the Waikiki Beach after we went to the Honolulu Zoo. So that can be your third day of activity if you have children. Even if I saw adults there just walking around. It's a very nice zoo. You see different animals that are specific to the Hawaii culture. I learned a fun fact, though, that Hawaii doesn't have any wild snakes, which I'm glad about because I hate snakes. So I found that out when I was in the Honolulu Zoo. So I would suggest going there. I believe the entrance fee for the Honolulu Zoo was $19. Oh, and I forgot, for Diamondhead, it's about a $5. You get to do a reservation for your time ahead of time. It's about a $5 entrance fee for everybody to enter Diamondhead. And we took an Uber there, and it was about $12 for the Uber to go there one way. Okay, so the fourth day, I planned for us to have private surf lessons with the Ohana Surf group, or Ohana Surf family. I'll link them in the description box. And we had 2-hour private surf lessons. This is also child-friendly. Apparently, surfing in Waikiki Beach has waves that are moderate enough for children. And my son knows how to swim, but for children to practice surfing in. So this is my first time surfing. It was my son's first time surfing in the ocean. It was more challenging than I thought, but it also was pretty cool to say that I surfed in the Pacific Ocean. They give you a little bit of training ahead of time, and then they kind of say, let's go, get out there in the water and let's see what you can do. So I fell off a couple of times, but I got back up and, caught a few waves. So for the private lessons, so that's just one-on-one because they do have group lessons, but for private lessons, I believe it was $150 something per person for adults, and a little cheaper for children. And I'll link that in the description box, the specific prices at the time that I went. So it can be a little pricey if you have a larger family, but I would say it was well worth it to have that. I actually got tired before the 2 hours was over, and I was like, we can go back in. Just a caution for people that have motion sickness. Towards the end, I started to feel a little bit like wheezy, and I was like, let's go back in before I started to be overcome by it. But there was one other guy who he was overcome by motion sickness, and so he kind of had to settle himself down. So I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, as you're on the waves, just surfing out there, you may actually get a sense of motion sickness. I took Dramamine before I went because I had to notice that it may occur. Okay, so our next day there was Wednesday. Wednesday we went to Pearl Harbor, and Pearl Harbor was about a 23-minute ride from Waikiki Beach area, and we took an Uber there. And we wanted, I knew this, like I said, for children, it may be a little bit much for them, but I still wanted to have some kind of learning and educational part of this vacation. So I always try to make it an effort to pick a learning moment about history. So we went to Pearl Harbor to see about the Pearl Harbor attacks that started World War II. We got a chance to view certain things. My son got his Junior Ranger badge, and so if you just ask them, like, they usually have a Junior Ranger program where their kids can go look at certain things and learn about them and write them in a little booklet and turn the booklet in, and they can get a Junior Ranger badge. So my son was very proud to get that at the Pearl Harbor. So that was a stop we made on Wednesday, and we kind of chilled on the ocean in a different part of the ocean. on a beach that was kind of more popular with the locals than the tourists, and it was a little bit more calm and less crowded. So we chilled there after we went to Pearl Harbor on that Wednesday. And that was actually our final day in Waikiki Beach, because Thursday we went to the North Shore to kind of explore that area. Okay, so on Thursday we woke up and I told you I went and got the rental car keys, and then we traveled up to the North Shore to Kualoa Ranch, where they actually called Jurassic Valley, and we got to see where they filmed Jurassic World, which is a pretty cool experience. We basically we went on the Raptor UTV ride, which is utility something vehicle, and we kind of got to see a lot of the sites that they used to film movie sites. For Jurassic World, 51st Dates, it was another movie, I can't remember, but it was beautiful. All the different sites, and you can see the ocean from it. That tour was a 2-hour tour, and I believe it was $160 a person, a little cheaper for children. Again, I'll put that in the description box to let you know for sure, but I thought that was a pretty good thing. It was actually 20 minutes from the hotel we stayed at in North Shore, so it was pretty convenient. From Waikiki Beach to that place, it was about 45 minutes. And we actually rented a Mustang because, you know, when you're in Hawaii, those are actually more popular than renting a regular car, like a convertible Mustang. Note to self, though, it's not a family-friendly car. We ended up having to put some of the luggage in the back seat because it couldn't all fit in the trunk. So, you know, on the way there, we were a little bit overloaded, but we, you know, took the luggage out later, and it was nice to have the top down. That was my first time actually using a convertible, and my son enjoyed the ride with the top down. We used sun visors so we wouldn't get burnt up, but it was a cool experience. Kualoa Ranch was pretty fun. Like I said, it's about a 2-hour thing. They had some food on the premises for people to eat before or after they come back, and obviously a souvenir area we can buy souvenirs that have a lot of the Jurassic World or Jurassic Park themed things. So check it out if you're in the North Shore. Okay, so after we went to the Kualoa Ranch, we went and checked in at the North Shore Marriott Courtyard Marriott Hotel. They gave us some welcoming, like, chocolate covered macadamia nuts, which is popular for Hawaii. And we got settled in there. Stay tuned to the end. I'm going to talk to you about some of the don'ts about where you should book. It was very close to the Polynesian Cultural Center. There were some food markets nearby, obviously Shave Ice. We actually tried out Shave Ice twice a day in different areas to see which we voted as the best Shave Ice. So they call it Shave Ice, not Shaved Ice or Hawaiian Ice. And to figure out, it's always cool when you're, you know, it's a hot day. There's not much humidity there, so it was actually pretty comfortable to kind of go around even though it was warmer weather. So we checked in the Courtyard Marriott and kind of settled for the day because Kualoa Ranch was the main activity, and then we decided, you know, we got some things like food items while we were up in that area before we got ready for our next day's activity. Okay, the next activity is kind of what I'm wearing. So we went to a luau. They have all kinds of luau's there. We went to the one called Toa, what's the name of it? Toa Luau. Something simple like that, right? And it was actually put on by a family-owned business. They do have a lot of these companies that put a lot the luau's on, but it was family-owned business, which I thought was cool to support them. And the cost for them were about $190 for VIP seating for adults and $159 for children. There was all-you-can-eat food that they served at the table. It was not a buffet. You got to do different cultural activities. Made some. Well, they actually gave us a flower lei. I actually made this at the Waikiki Beach Hotel. We made this headband out of coconut tree leaves. They gave us a nice show. The MC was very personable, and my son thought it was the best. And this was a 3-hour show for a 6-year-old. So the fact that it was a very interactive show. They had us practicing the hula moves, the little dance they do with the Polynesian culture. So I thought it was really cool to kind of get an idea of the different Polynesian islands that I didn't even know were part of. Obviously, Hawaii was colonized by the United States and became the 50th state. But it's also part of other islands that are there. Samoa Islands. Don't get me to name it all. But I learned about a lot of the other islands that I did not know were part of the Polynesian culture. So that kind of where we ended our trip. We went to the beach after that, which was the Turtle Bay Beach. Just to kind of relax. It's a good place for snorkeling if that's something you like to do. And we kind of got ourselves ready for the last day, which our flight was actually at 7 p.m. So we were able to enjoy like a full day of doing some other activities, just riding around. We actually got some shave ice from where Obama got his shave ice, which was down back in the Waikiki area. We had to drive back down there anyway to go to the Honolulu Airport. And we got lunch there, and then we hung out until it was about time to check the car back in and take the Charlie's taxi back to the airport. So it was a full time there. Stay tuned for what not to do when you go to Oahu, Hawaii though. Okay, so if you were counting up what I was talking about as we were going through the process, the 8-day itinerary, the grand total was about $7,000, a little over $7,000. That was with me accounting for about $100 a day for food, the activities I mentioned, the hotel, the rental car, and the flights that I mentioned earlier. So it can be a little bit pricey. That's not for a family of 4. So if you're a family of 4, just, adjust it based on the pricing that I gave you, but you can get a good idea about how much it would cost for that many days in Oahu. Oahu seems to be a good kid-friendly or family-friendly place to visit, as opposed to I hear like Maui maybe for couples or older people that want to kind of hang out and party. So I think Oahu was a good place. I enjoyed my trip there. It was, fun, not too many activities, not too overloaded with fun. Like some of it was relaxing just on the beach and watching the waves or in the hotel pools. So I think it was a fun trip, and I think it was a memorable trip for my 6-year-old son as well. Okay, here's some things not to do. First thing is, I booked Waikiki Marriott, and I would not go back to that hotel because the beds were horrible. I already have some back problems, and the bed did not help the case. The beds, you can feel the springs in the beds. Now, I would say the pros are the facility is very modern. They have a lot of amenities there. They have, like I said, they have like 4 on-site restaurants. They have the rental car place there. It's very centrally located. But in the rooms, that bed, I talked to somebody else. They had the opposite problem. Their bed was too hard. So I don't know if it's just pick up the randomly like which bed you may get, but notice to you that if you stay at the Waikiki Marriott, you may not appreciate the bed. Also, the parking fee, as I mentioned before, there's a high parking fee for parking your car, $50 a night, which can add up because that's in addition to you actually renting the car. There's also a resort fee of $50 a day that kind of covers activities for like making these leis for, they have like tasting of poke, which is the popular food there. They have some entertainment. So you're basically paying $50 a night in addition to whatever the hotel regular cost is. So those things can add up if you stay there for an extended period of time, in addition to the parking fees that you have for the car. But like I said, it wasn't totally horrible. There were some pros and cons of staying there. But I would choose a different hotel. Perhaps someone told me about the Hyatt Regency may have better beds. They were a little further up Waikiki Beach, but still within close proximity to all the centrally located things that I mentioned in this video. Here's another thing not to do. Don't overbook. So like I said, I didn't overbook, and I was glad I didn't. Just because you have 8 days, do not plan 8 activities. Some activities you do need to make reservations ahead of time because they may have some limit to how many people they have entry. So try to do those ahead of time, but don't go overboard with it because you may not feel up to doing those activities, and some of them you have to pay for in advance, and then you kind of lose your money. So don't overbook. Okay, so everybody in Hawaii, the popular thing is called poi, which is a kind of a potato-based plant there that they use to make different items. I had some poi at a place called Lillyha Bakery, which they made into like a donut, which is really good. And I was like, oh, this is pretty good. It's not too sweet. It was actually less calories than a regular donut. But then I went later to the Waiho Poi Factory and ordered some chicken long rice and poi on the side, which was like mashed poi, and I did not like it. Not to say that you won't like it, but be aware that the poi that comes in the Lillyha Bakery donuts is not the same poi that you may like that come in a different form, like a pasty kind of thing. It's a purple pasty thing, and I would not recommend. Here's another thing just about the transportation and kind of getting there and getting around, I would say that if you can afford it, to kind of see whether you can travel in something above economy. I did that going there because I wanted to test it out to see the difference, and it was worth it as far as leg room is concerned. You're on a longer flight, and it would be worth it to pay a little bit more. For United, it's called United Economy Plus, which is right behind first class, and I had way more leg room. The wife was in front of me, right near a bathroom that I could use. Going back, there were not Economy Plus seats available when I flew regular economy, and I felt like, wish I had. Well, actually, first class was actually filled up too, but their tickets were $4,000 one way, so I probably wouldn't even roll first class if there were tickets available, because I'm not there yet. But regular economy for an 8-hour flight that was an overnight flight was not comfortable. So that what I would caution you to realize, that if you're traveling on those longer leg flights, and especially if you have children, obviously they don't need as much leg room as an adult would need, but just the comfort level of traveling getting there and back. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll try to share more information about other trips we took, but hopefully if you're planning your next trip to Oahu, Hawaii, hopefully what I gave you was helpful to help you in your planning stages. All right, see you next video.